What's up, you guys? I'm here with a new video today. Here to bring you guys a little quick discussion video. Everyone knows that Nationals is going on this weekend, and for those of you who don't know, am not going to Nationals. I have been out of the competitive scene basically for the entire season. I've just been getting more important things in order, and a lot of people are under the impression I quit. Of course, I mentioned that before, but this was far from true. I am planning on returning back into the game upon the new format. As soon as Nationals is over, the new list kicks in. I'm really trying to come back into the game more competitively, brush up on everything, and I'm trying to attend YCS Toronto and some of the other upcoming events. I'm going to try to attend some of the ARGs and just try to get back into the scene because I do miss it. I've just had to handle more important life issues first, and now that I'm getting things in order, my return to the game is seeming more and more positive. So I'll explain that, of course, in another video. That's not what today's video is about. Today's video, don't be fooled by what you see in front of you. Today's video is going to talk about just a very simple discussion. What deck is going to win our national championship this weekend in Detroit? A lot of people are gutting and saying that it's going to be Lightsworn. Lightsworn is absolutely insane. Judgment Dragon is the deck. Dragon Rulers with Judgment Dragon, with milling your entire deck in a turn if you open like crazy with Needlebug Nest and Curry Bandits and stuff. And just basically telling your opponent you have 1 or 2 turns to beat me or you're going to lose next turn is pretty overwhelming. One thing though about that deck is that it can brick very hard. You can open all boss monsters, no way to start milling, and you can lose very quickly because of it. You can be locked out single-handedly by some cards. You can break. I've seen in just some of the streams I've been watching when Lightsworn lost, it was because a Curry Bandit was breakthrough skilled. There are a lot of ways to stop that deck, but a lot of people are still saying that doesn't matter. A lot of people are saying that the vast majority of people are playing the deck and that it's going to win the national championship. We'll see what happens. Other decks, there's of course Geargia, the ever-present Geargia deck. Whether you call it Geargia or Geargia hands, whatever, you're just throwing the hands into the deck. It doesn't really change anything. It just adds more of a stun aspect. Geargia is another just crazy deck that basically armor Geargia gear, you win because it's very hard to, come back when your opponent has just pushed that much advantage onto the board and they're making their Geargia X's and they're plussing each turn and they're just winning just based on their rank 4s and the ability to just lock you out with like 50% of the deck being traps. So Geargia are really good. They have pretty solid matchups across the board. I was watching Dad's videos on breaking down like how the decks will perform. Shout out to him. I'll link those videos below. I think those videos are really, really informative for people. Even though I'm not going to the Nationals, I sat down and watched them both because they just gave me just a better aspect of what to expect if I were to say what deck would win and whatnot. If you look at other decks, I don't know anything about Sylvans, unfortunately. That was one deck that I still have to research and whatnot. A lot of people in the comments, I'm sure, can tell me how Sylvans will perform. I did hear Dad say that it can draw those weird hands just like any deck. It can brick like other decks, and when you're setting up your mills, sometimes you don't get the ideal mills you want. You don't get the ideal setup you want, and it just depends on how the deck performs, and how you draw, and all the basic luck that unfortunately plays a big role in this game. Other decks, Boojins, Hat, Artifacts, Trap Tricks, or whatever, the hands. Boojin are Boojin, Yamato dot deck, Kaiser Coliseum, Four Honest, Bunch Protection. Get rid of the Yamato, they probably lost. Get rid of the Kaiser Coliseum, get rid of the Yamato, they probably lost. But other than that, the deck's a really solid pick. I think the deck has a lot more potential than people are giving it. Always been considered a degenerate deck. Every deck is being considered degenerate right now, especially Lightsworn. Lightsworn is literally just being said to be the most degenerate deck right now. Just the fact that it's JD dot deck that any player can just pick up the deck, mill 4 Lightsworn, summon JD, and win because of that. But I think people don't look into the fact that when you mill your JDs or you don't have access to your JDs or your Eclipse Wyverns, which means you're not going to get to your JDs or whatever, you need to play a whole new aspect of the game. You need to play kind of the mill game. You have to play the XYZ game. And that's something that I think will separate some of the Lightsworn players this weekend from other Lightsworn players. I heard a lot of people talking about that because the deck is absolutely insane when it goes off, but when it doesn't, it flops pretty hard. Hat is just a solid deck. It's always been mind-boggling to me that ever since that deck came out that it's just 3 different just like aspects of playing rolled into one and they just work. They just work. They're like a well-oiled machine. They just work, and I think that that's really cool about the deck. I'm a big fan of the deck. There's also Prophecy. Prophecy's got a very not as big showing as it used to, but it's still a very viable deck. Fate is still at 1. It's still a very powerful card. Priestess is a powerful card. World's a powerful card. However you play the deck, the setup, the stun factor of it, the plussing off tower, the books, all uh, their ability to just be recycled is just really, really good. It'll be interesting to see if spellbooks make it to the top. The deck that I feel is going to have probably extremely big showing in addition to Geargia, Lightsworn, Dragon Rulers is Mermail because people are still playing Mermail. There's nothing wrong with the deck. The deck got slower. The deck lost a little bit when it lost Gundy, but I mean there's Soul Charge. Soul Charge literally is defining uh is basically the missing pieces in a lot of decks these days. Lightsworn's even playing it, which is insane because you would think, why on earth would I want to Soul Charge? I can't Soul Charge JD, but you can, if you get stopped by uh, problematic cards and you're able to soul charge them back and get your mills on, you still pretty much win. So it's pretty crazy, and it makes your setup for JDs just ridiculous, especially when you're bringing back like Raiden and Lumina and doing crazy stuff and making Michael and it's just been insane. I've just been really paying attention and watching a lot of YouTube videos to see what the top decks are, paying attention to Euros and stuff. And the deck I have in front of you is the deck that I would say is going to be the wild card. It's going to be the deck that is going to take a lot of people by surprise if anyone's playing it. And it was the top four from one of the World Championship qualifiers. I believe in Southern America. I can't even remember. I'd have to double check. But this deck, the Tribute Stun Fairy You Can't Play Yu-Gi-Oh deck is absolutely insane. I actually have tested it a couple times here on YGO Pro, and it's like damn, it's worse than Bujins when they have Yamato, Kaiser, Crane. It's just like you just literally do not get to do anything. The fact that you can shut off their special summon, special summoning in general, monster effects for free basically off of cards like Photon Sanctuary, um, and Mausoleum of the Emperor is just absolutely ridiculous. Like when I saw that this top, I should have made a video on it, but Robbie, Quidero, everyone made one. And I really didn't know what else I could say because it just literally, as Robbie put it, it went in and it fucked shit up because this deck just doesn't care. It's just like, well, I'm gonna throw a big beater with some stun cards, and I'm gonna decree your 19 traps, Geargia, and you're not gonna get any monster effects. I'm gonna throw in Vanity's Ruler and a Majestic Fiend, and that's it. Like with those three cards, it's just pretty much you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's pretty insane. And I mean, you're running a full lineup of the Forbidden Lance and the Forbidden Dress just to protect your monsters from like everything. It's just absolutely insane. Safe zones. Um, I saw this. I read Robert Boyajian's article on this deck, and it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna include this. This is gonna be what the video is about, just because this is the wild card deck. This is the deck that if anyone is piloting it this weekend, best of luck with it. I would love to see people top with this deck, just because you know what, it's something different. People always get mad this deck got bad mouth that it doesn't let you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, a lot of decks get you in situations where you don't get to play Yu-Gi-Oh. So, or you can play Yu-Gi-Oh to the best of your abilities and then lose to a Judgment Dragon. So it really just depends. As far as other decks go, there's Medolches, there's the Rogue anti-decks. I know people are gonna play Chainburn. Doesn't surprise me. Everyone said Chainburn was a viable option when Soul Charge came out, but it still loses to the same things. Decree being a thing. So it'll be interesting to see if people do pilot that deck. There is other decks that people are trying to play. I mentioned Dragon Rulers just only briefly, the Mythic Rulers. So people are still playing the Skill Drain Rulers, whatever it is. People are afraid to play Skill Drain though because of the hands. The hands are still pretty active in everything. Other decks that they'll probably see play, but I don't know if they'll make top tables. There's Dark World, there's Agents, there's just a lot of decks. There's so many decks right now. It's kind of insane. It's really cool that there's that many decks. But I think our top contenders, of course, everyone's already said it. I've seen a bunch of videos people saying what the top decks are going to be. I really think we're going to see a big showing of Lightsworn, a big showing of Geargia, a big showing of Mermail. We're going to see a big showing of at least 5 decks. I don't know how big the showing of Sylvans will be. The deck has now just started to top. Joji Orlando topped with the deck. Jeff Jones is topped with the deck. It did win an ARG event, the Sylvans. So it'll be interesting to see since I unfortunately don't have enough knowledge on that deck. I can't really say much on it, but I'll be interested to see what happens. But in the comments below, please comment with what you think is going to win. And I mean, I know people are going to put their little silly answers that like shape snatch dot hat dot Ophion dot deck is going to win. But if you guys could actually tell me what you honestly feel is gonna win, and make the top cut to Worlds. It's the top six go to Worlds. What you feel the top six decks are going to be. If you can say it in any ratio that you want. If you think it's gonna be six Lightsworn, say six Lightsworn. If you think it's gonna be a ratio of different decks, go for it. Also, the last thing I'm gonna say, Ophion.deck. That's another viable option for an anti-meta deck, just because I mean Lightsworn and all these other decks, if they're not maining Raikou or maining automatic outs to Ophion, very hard for them to summon their big beaters that win them the game. Locks out artifacts if they don't have the hands and other tricks to get around Ophion. It'll be interesting to see though how this Nationals turns out, because there's a lot of decks and a lot of good players going, and it'll be interesting to see who takes the top six spots and represents us at Worlds in Italy this year. So that's all I got to say, you guys. Best of luck to everyone that's going. May the odds be ever in your favor. I had to do it. Sorry, guys. I love Jennifer Lawrence. She's gorgeous. I just had to do it, but don't cast this deck out either. If you are unsure of what to play, go ahead and play this deck. If I didn't know, like I already knew which deck I'd pick to go to if I went to Nationals. It would not be this deck because the majority of these cards are honestly like I have these, but I don't have that. I actually don't have these. I do have these. Never even heard of this. So as you guys can see, it wouldn't have been the best option if it was a last minute choice, especially with not enough practice. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think is going to win Nats? What do you think is going to take our top six spots and represent us at Worlds? And if you think there's any, I'm sure there's decks I've forgotten. Mention them below. Mention decks that people are not giving a second glance, but do have potential in this very big, very important event for the end of the season. So that's all I got to say, you guys. Best of luck to everyone going, and I will be back to report how the top goes after this weekend. So I hope everyone has a great time that's going. Be safe. It's Detroit. Anyone goes to 8 Mile or has epic rap battles, I hope to hear about them. I know my boy Philip is probably going to do a freestyle or something out there, so shout out to you, bro, if you do. And I just hope everyone has a great time and that we have some really great games and some crazy decks top this event. So that's all I got to say, you guys. Leave your comments below and your thoughts on what's going to take the top spots and the win, and thank you for watching.